Welcome to the You Empowered podcast with your host, Justine Jetty. If you want to unlock your potential and step into the most authentic, healthiest, and happiest version of you, then you're in the right place. Each week, we'll dive into practical, evidence-based strategies for your habits, mindset, and health so you can create a life and a body you love. Let's get into it. Research links perfectionism to anxiety, depression, insomnia, and burnout. And ironically, it doesn't guarantee better results. Meta-analyses show perfectionism is just as likely to hurt your performance as help it. People striving for excellence consistently outperform perfectionists because they finish projects and keep their momentum. Hey, I'm Justine and welcome back to the You Empowered podcast. Today I'm going to be sharing with you the difference between excellence and perfectionism. If you're someone like me who has high standards of yourself, you care about being and doing your best so you can have a positive impact on the world and those around you, then understanding the difference between perfectionism and excellence is going to be crucial for you to reach your potential. In today's episode, I'm going to be breaking down the key differences between perfectionism and excellence, why it should matter to you, and giving you practical steps if you're a recovering perfectionist like me in order to shift from perfectionism to excellence. And these principles and practical steps can be applied across any area of your life, whether you're trying to build a business, build a stronger and fitter body, or just have better relationships. So let's get into it. For many years, I struggled with perfectionism because I thought that I needed to be perfect in order to be successful. In my career, even before I became a coach, I wanted to go above and beyond and do things really, really well. Even with my health and fitness, I was pushing myself to be more disciplined, to have a healthy, strong, and fit body and reach that next level. And in my relationships, it was caring about how I showed up and wanting to add value. Now, there's nothing wrong with any of what I've just said, but where so many people get stuck and where I got stuck is that both perfectionism and excellence are about having high standards. So on the surface, it's really hard to differentiate between the two. So let's look at what separates the two so you have a clearer picture and you can assess for yourself whether you're operating out of perfectionism or excellence. Now, perfectionism is rooted in fear. It is fear-based ambition. Fear of being out of control, fear of not being good enough, fear of failure. Excellence, however, is rooted in your values and purpose. It is growth-based ambition. So perfectionism is characterized by an unrelenting, excessively high standards and a feeling that nothing you do is just ever good enough. Whereas excellence strives for high quality work and personal improvement without the expectation of being flawless at all times. So the key difference in motivation between perfectionism and excellence is perfectionism is focused on avoiding criticism and failure, whereas excellence is focused on continual growth, learning, and effort. To put it simply, excellence runs on purpose and perfectionism runs on fear. When mistakes happen, excellence accepts them as part of the process. So someone with an excellent mindset has flexibility and adaptability towards their goals. But when mistakes happen, a perfectionist sees it as a threat to their identity, and specifically a fear of not being good enough. Because of this, they tend to be very rigid towards their goals because mistakes confirm to them their worst fear, which is them not being good enough. The research shows that when it comes to behavioural patterns and performance, excellence actually builds momentum. So research actually shows us that those who set high but realistic goals and hit them and move on actually outperform perfectionists in grades, projects, and long-term results. They define what good, great, and excellence looks like up front, then finish when they reach it. Excellence protects your energy. So research also shows that people with an excellent mindset plan for recovery and measure effort as well as outcomes. They track actions they can control, like focus work blocks or consistent training. Their standards are high, but they are sustainable. On the flip side of this, perfectionism drives burnout. Perfectionism has been linked to higher cortisol levels, and self-criticism has been linked to anxiety, depression, and even higher dropout rates in high-pressure environments. Perfectionists also tend to procrastinate more. So perfectionism actually burns more of your time and your energy because nothing you do ever feels good enough. So you can waste hours trying to over-edit or just never finalize your work because you're constantly trying to get it to just an unrealistic perfectionist standard. And this often leads to missed opportunities and, as I mentioned before, a lot of time and energy wasted. So if you're someone like me, I used to be someone who resonated way more with perfectionism than I did excellence. The fun part for you starts right now because you can shift this. Perfectionism may be what you've used so far to drive you, but it doesn't have to be what you continue with. You can choose to shift to excellence, and I'm going to show you what I've used that's worked for me and hundreds of my clients. So I'm going to be sharing with you 7 practical steps that I've implemented in my own life, and I've also worked with clients to implement. These results I've seen both in myself and with my clients is more self-trust and confidence, better performance across their health and fitness, their careers and their relationships, and in other areas and aspects of their life. So here are the 7 practical steps to shift from perfectionism to excellence, keeping in mind that this is not an overnight switch. It took me many months and truthfully many years to shift some of the perfectionist patterns that I had in my life. So the first thing is to define what good, great, and excellent is for you. On a daily basis, this could look like setting an excellent target and what your non-negotiable minimum standard is. So this could look like an excellent target could be, for example, 10,000 steps and a 45-minute workout. But a non-negotiable minimum for you could be, let's say, just a 20 minutes of movement, whether that's a walk, a run, swimming, whatever it is, just that 20 minutes of movement. Or a work example for this could be that your excellent standard is 4 hours of deep focus work and your non-negotiable bare minimum is 1 hour. The second shift is to track your controllable effort. So for example, hours of focused work, track that. Progressive overload in your training sessions, track that. If you're studying at the moment, recap what you've actually learnt that week that's new for you. And this part often gets overlooked because I know I used to do this as a perfectionist, is you tend to stay away from celebrating yourself. So a crucial part with this is celebrating your effort and your growth, not just the outcomes. This is reinforcing to you that your self-worth is not tied to the outcomes. The third step is building systems and routines that can be tweaked so you can meet yourself on your worst days. And just being realistic with you, your 100% is going to look different on certain days. And this is where perfectionists tend to fall into the all or nothing cycle, where they can't meet themselves where they're at. They beat themselves up because their 100% feels like 40%, and they end up just spiraling. So rather than doing that, look at what your worst days could look like and define for yourself what good, great, and excellent actually looks like on those days so you avoid falling into all or nothing patterns and beating yourself up. But, I wouldn't know what that feels like because I've never beaten myself up. Nope. I operate at 100% every single day. So number 4 is to protect your energy. So in my last podcast, I spoke to you about burnout and how it's not a time management issue, but it's an energy management issue. So if something doesn't align with your goals or your values, it's a no. This enables your ambition to be sustainable for you long term. The 5th practical shift that you need in order to shift from perfectionism to excellence, and truthfully, this one took me a few years to get out of, just being real with you, is to heal your relationship with failure. So making mistakes is not proof that you are not worthy enough, good enough, incapable. They are opportunities for you to grow. But every time you make a mistake, if you criticize yourself, you are going back into that pattern and that loop of not being good enough. So instead, when a mistake happens, shift this to, this is just information. This is not my identity. What can this actually teach me? How can I grow or learn from this? Not only is this more constructive for you, but when you stop allowing mistakes to define who you are, you funnily enough are able to step into your fullest potential because you've built the self-trust that you don't fear it anymore. The sixth shift that you need to make from perfectionism to excellence is to walk yourself through the worst case scenario. Now, this might seem counterintuitive, but I can tell you right now, this lowers your anxiety because of the mental rehearsal that you have, and it also enables you to be fully prepared for whatever outcome. Every time I've walked myself visually through the worst case scenario, whether it's a work project, a gym goal, whatever it is, I've just felt way more peace and calm about it, and funnily enough, I've been way more prepared for it than if I hadn't had done that. So the seventh and final practical shift that you need to make in order to shift from perfectionism to excellence is to track your recovery and your rest like you would your training sessions or your work hours. Rest is not a hindrance to your progress. It is a crucial element for it. If you want to avoid burnout and still meet the high standards and the excellent standards that you have set for yourself, rest and recovery is a non-negotiable. And the last practical habit that I want to leave you with, and this helped me whilst I was shifting from perfectionism to excellence, is asking yourself these two questions at the end of every week. The first question is, where did I act from excellence this week? And the second question is, where did fear of not being enough drive my choices? So excellence is high standards with freedom, and perfectionism is high standards with fear. I want you to remember that. One builds resilience and growth, and the other builds stress and burnout. So my recommendation for you, coming from my experience, is choose excellence and watch how much further you will go. Thanks for tuning in today. If this landed for you, don't forget to subscribe and rate the show. It's the only way this show is going to grow. And share it with a friend who needs this reminder. Until next week, take care.